Never worried. Hey everybody, this is Minion Soldier, and this is the Piracy Show. And today, I was just having fun, I was just messing around in my reclaimer. I hit up a wreck site that was unfortunately a little crowded. One of the issues on the PTU right now is that things are pretty crowded out there, and there aren't a lot of missions being generated. I was hoping to get a black box, something that would light up the interior of my ship. So I wanted to throw a few odds and ends in the captain's cabin. Unfortunately, I had to settle for some other mission objective and just toss it in here. I just kind of wanted to mess around a little bit and play around with the reclaimer, and well, the reclaimer ended up being a bit of a handful. Let's say it like that. She was a little tough to handle. Landing, yeah, there was a bit of an issue landing it on Daymar. I took it down to Daymar. I took it down to Arcorp and picked up some minerals, just looking to sell them, make a little bit of money, because it's not as big a cargo bay as the Caterpillar, but it is obviously bigger than the Cutlass, so I kind of just wanted to mess around with the reclaimer and just get familiar with it and get familiar with its performance. And well, my first attempt at landing, which you saw at the beginning of the video, was a little bit of a surprise. You gotta really slow her down a lot before you get close to the planet's surface. A lot more than I originally thought. It hadn't been that way before, but I guess it is that way now. I don't know. Maybe just I lucked out the other time the way I was flying it, just differently, maybe slower. And this time, I was, I guess, rushing a little bit, and that did not work out. Now, the reclaimer is very much the way the Caterpillar was in the beginning. The reclaimer it functions a lot like the way the Caterpillar functioned in 3.0. It's a cool ship to have. You want to go around, you want to fly it, you want to play around with it. Obviously, it looks great, and you want to enjoy it. But there's just so many little things that aren't working with it. I think overall, the Caterpillar is probably more the Caterpillar's time to shine, especially with what I had heard about, but I did not realize how drastically it had been changed. But the profitability of trading has received a slight adjustment, and not towards making it more profitable. In fact, quite the contrary. But I still want to take the reclaimer out, put some cargo in it, and just enjoy it. Just enjoy it the way it's meant to be played. The server was working fairly well, well enough to get about an hour and 30 minutes worth of footage, which of course I'm going to condense here because unfortunately when it reminds me so much of like the early problems with the Caterpillar, with the elevator and with the doors not opening. The reclaimer seems to have become the ship that has these problems. Now, some of you have noted in my earlier videos when I mistakenly looked at one of the slots on the lower deck here and said, oh, I guess there's going to be another escape pod that goes in there. And they're like, no, it's an elevator to lower you down to the ground. For me, that elevator working has been extremely hit or miss. And, it's not this elevator, it's the one in the back door. I'm sure a lot of you know which one I'm talking about, or the one behind me, rather. It has been very problematic for me to get that thing to work, as I found out when I was trying to create this video. Because one of the biggest problems is the rear elevator in this ship doesn't reach the ground. When you call the elevator down, it stops at about neck level, I would say, about neck level with your character, or maybe just a little bit lower, a little bit higher. So you can't really get up into it. It seems that at Olisar you can kind of bunny hop up onto it and it's not as bad, but here, especially on uneven ground, it's just out of reach. And so one of the things that I wanted to know, one of the things that I wanted to do was figure out how can I get back into the ship before I start taking it around really and really start trying to do stuff with it. How easy is it to get back in the ship, especially if I'm landing on planets? And I mean, you're going to see the difference right here. And even though, yeah, there is a rock under it, when this ship moves itself, and there's no obstruction underneath it, it still only comes down this far. And that's kind of like the big problem with the reclaimer, is like I was trying to get back into it on this balcony for the longest time just because that front elevator never works for me, right? But after about 10 minutes of trying to jump off these rocks and then jump up onto it, I just said, all right, let's go try the front elevator. Now, what I seem to have figured out here with the front elevator is that in order to open it, you have to basically click on a certain kind of invisible spot in 3D space, just, I guess, to, if you're sitting in the pilot seat to the right of the ship, just to the right of the door up in space, kind of away from the ship, there's, I guess, like a little magical spot there that you can click on and it just opens the door. It kind of really makes me miss the days when, like in the old Cutlass, when there were just the buttons on the landing legs and you just pushed them and the ladders came out or the ramp came down depending on which entrance you were using on the Cutlass. And I really missed that today because I figured, okay, so now I know how this works. And then all of a sudden the whole ship just goes, yeah, boom. I'm just going to go sit over here. Okay. It was a very kind of, it was one of those days. So I figured at this point it was pretty safe to say, okay, I can get in and out of the ship, so why not spend all of my 5,000 UEC, because how could that possibly go wrong, on, quartz in this case. Spend it all, fill up the ship as much as possible with all that quartz. Every single UEC I got, spend it all on quartz, and then take it up to Olisar, sell it, and see how much money we actually get out of it. I mean, obviously not the efficient way to run cargo. Yes, I know. But, just to try it, just to mess around with the ship. And unfortunately, this is when the elevators decide to not work. The front elevator no longer worked. The rear elevator would come down, but I couldn't get it to deploy to the point where it touched the ground. So I made multiple attempts, but seemingly the Dragonfly was performing in a somewhat uneven manner. And so my hopes of hopping a Dragonfly up onto the elevator and getting there in a stable fashion did not work out. Eventually I kind of tried to slow it down and just said, okay, I'm just going to creep in. See if I can get on there. I'm just going to hop it up right at the last second and go. No. My attempts to turn the Tumbril Cyclone into some kind of ramp so that I could hop up into the elevator ended up leading to a display of physics that was mysterious Yeah, that didn't work out either as a plan. So after a huge amount of monkeying around, I got desperate. I came back to the front elevator. First try, it works. Go figure. I had been at this desperately trying to find some kind of way to get back in the ship for probably about 40 minutes. Like, I was ramming the ship with the dragonfly, trying to move it somehow or get it to bump up next to a rock, anything to just get me back in the ship, because obviously, like, I had just gotten everything back and I had almost thrown everything away on this silly idea to haul cargo with a reclaimer just to see. And yeah, that was almost pretty brutal. But just to give you an idea of just how stupid this idea was, let's see how much money we made. So here we are. We're at Olisar now, and the first thing I want to do is I kind of want to check out the cargo hold, see how everything's arranged in there, because I've never really carried cargo on this thing before. You know, I just want to check everything out. Maybe you're just curious to see it as well. I don't know. So this is the cargo hold level within the reclaimer, and there it all is. All that quartz. So obviously there's a ton more space in here to haul a lot of cargo, though the unwieldy and slow nature of the reclaimer would probably make it prohibitive to use it as any kind of real cargo hauler, unless the cargo was just the incidental stuff that you picked up along the way while you were salvaging. Interesting note, though, is that though it takes the reclaimer a far longer amount of time to get up to full afterburner speed, which I think in this ship is 979. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just, you know, having a little trouble remembering it now. But it is actually faster now at full afterburner than the Caterpillar, which I found completely odd. I had no idea why that is the way it is. I would have thought that easily the Caterpillar would be faster, but it appears that though it does accelerate faster, the reclaimer does have a higher top end speed. So interesting fact for those of you out there looking at either a Caterpillar or a reclaimer. Though the reclaimer does have that new shiny big new ship feel, and there's a lot of people out there like, oh my gosh, should I get a reclaimer? Do you think I should get a reclaimer? I think that this is the side of the reclaimer I really want people to see. I love the ship, I really do, and once it's finished and fixed, obviously it's going to be a lot better. But I want people to see the troubling side of the reclaimer right now and how it performs, so that if you're going to go out there and you're going to drop the money, you know that for right now, for what the reclaimer can do right now, this is how it's performing. But here we go. Moment of truth. Let's get that money. Boom. 5,470 credit. So we got a gigantic 470 credit profit for an incredible amount of time on one single cargo run. So if you're thinking about a reclaimer, just know what you're getting into. I mean, it's a great ship, I love it, but just know what you're getting into. The reclaimer will have its time to shine. Earliest time probably about 3 months from now, but for right now, that's not it. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.